the president, who in the time past has also been a major voice, calling for the restructuring of the country, will you now back it up with actions and legislative frameworks or abandon the idea of true federalism and restructuring in the country? That will be the first issue on the roundtable. I would also have the second issue. I'm sure that we'll just have to find a way to squeeze this in, because I know the issue of restructuring may well take a larger chunk of the time we have on the show this evening. And the second one will be ministerial appointments. Don't appoint politicians as agric ministers. And that statement is coming from farmers to the new president. And now, the issue of ministerial nominations and appointments is also one issue raging in the political space. Although there have been a number of reports talking about infighting, talking about a whole lot of politicking going on as far as ministerial appointment is concerned within the APC. But because these are farmers now, telling the president to please ensure that whoever is going to be appointed as Minister of Agriculture should be a technocrat, someone who understands the business of agriculture, not just a politician. Now, this is a big deal. This is the big deal here. Can President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in the big question, abandon politicians for technocrats? They have the willpower to do appointments of ministers who are going to be major technocrats, who are going to be people in the business where who understand what it takes to run those ministries, rather than the usual that we have always seen, and that's basically politicians who have either worked for the party and all of that. So those are the things, the two issues on the roundtable this evening. And of course, because of time, we just go straight to business. Again, I don't know, Barrister Curtis, are you guys with us via the phone line already? Okay, we'll still try. We're still trying to get across to Barrister Curtis Adigba, who has promised to join us via the phone line from the United States of America. Of course, Nurdin Adigbero, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm good.
All right, Joseph Olorunso, I'm sure that these are two important issues that you are really eager to,
Yeah, they are very, very important. And I think I'm good.
You're good to go.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Again, we're going to make the show interactive. Don't worry. And of course, you can also watch us live. We're streaming the show live on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, we are Mainland FM 98.3. And on YouTube, we are Mainland FM 98.3. You can watch the show live and, of course, drop your comments there. We'll take those comments when we start to, of course, get your thoughts on these two important issues. But let's just go straight to business. The first issue, allow me to lay the foundation this way. Now, the issue of restructuring, the renewed call for restructuring and true federalism, this has been the governing subject since the start of the Fourth Republic in 1999. It has become even more pronounced with the secessionist agitations across the country. The APC government has been accused of coming to power on the sentiments of lofty ideas, which included restructuring, but abandoned them as they got the prize, the ultimate prize in 2015. A lot of people feel that, look, the APC used that only as a political bait to get to power, and that in 2015, they've not, when they took over the reins of leadership of the country, they've not really been committed to the idea of restructuring. But will restructuring be or not be under the new administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? That is the big question that we're going to try and resolve on the show this evening. Now, let us look at the various calls for restructuring in the country. Again, there are variants of restructuring according to whoever is arguing it, because of course in Nigeria there are people who will tell you that the word restructuring is too big a word to really understand. It depends on who is using the word. But the nucleus of the argument on restructuring is devolution of more powers, I think, to the state. Whoever is defining it or arguing it, I think there's one central idea, the idea of devolution of power to the federating states. Well, the Southwest, where Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the new president, comes from, has been the fiercest proponent of the restructuring of Nigeria, according to the regions, and of a return to Nigeria to the 1963 Constitution. Under the 1963 Constitution, also called the Republican Constitution, the old regions existed as semi-autonomous or beating entities with a surfeit of power to decide their future as regards education, healthcare, basic facilities, customs, identity, and a whole lot of other issues. The Southwest pursuits, which became more trenchant under the Buhari administration, is the absolute restructuring of Nigeria. In September 2017, leaders of the region converged on Ibadan, Oyo State, where they made a bold and incisive declaration, and it's called the Ibadan Declaration. They demanded the immediate restructuring of Nigeria. The Southwest leaders declared that the Yoruba no longer wanted to be governed under the 1999 Constitution. In a 16-point communique signed by the chairman of the summit, Afe Babalola SAN, and read by the late Yinka Odumaki, the leaders demanded regional governance, according to them, to enable the Yoruba to decide their own future. Again, the disparity we have in terms of restructuring. People will say, oh, it has to be going back to regionalism. Some will say, oh, it's about federating units, devolution of power, and all of that. But the big question again, will restructuring still be or not be under President Tinubu? Will the same decades-long demand by the Southwest persist? And there are people who are asking the question, now that we have a Southwesterner as president, will the Southwest leaders still continue to insist on restructuring as they've done in the past? And will Tinubu bail the cat? The ultimate question. Now, let us now look at what the position of the president has been in the past before we are now decide to bring you in, Nuruddin and Joseph Olorunso. Tinubu on restructuring. Tinubu gave an interesting perspective on restructuring and the national divergence in a speech titled A New Nigeria or a Better One. Of course, that was in 2017 at a dinner of the King's College Old Boys Association in Lagos, precisely September 2017. And for the record, let's just quote him verbatim, what he said at that particular event. And this is quoting the new President Bola Ahmed Tinubu then in 2017 at this particular dinner of the King's College Old Boys Association in Lagos. And this was what the president said at that time. He said, look, we cannot become a better Nigeria with an undue concentration of power at the federal level. Many of the 68 items on the exclusive federal list should be transferred to the residual list. This will be in harmony with the 1963 Constitution, again, re-echoing the idea of the Yoruba leaders who were talking about what? Regionalism. Now, again, in instance of reaching back to revive something old, yet more likely to give us a better Nigeria. I'm still quoting the president now. That was in 2017. The prior constitution granted vast powers to the regions, enabling them to carry out their immense responsibilities as they saw it fit. By virtue of the clear fact that regional governments were closer to the people, they had a better feel for the material and intangible priorities of their population. We must return to this ideal. I'm quoting the president in 2017. We must return to this ideal. Some items which should be left for the states to handle, such as police. Now he's talking about the things that should now go back to the states. Police, prisons, stamp duties, regulation of tourist traffic, registration of business, incorporation of companies, traffic, and a whole lot of other issues. Now, this is the situation now. Nadeco, if you remember, on June 11, 2023, a day before the June 12 celebration of this year, we had an interview, still on this roundtable, with Pa Ayo Okpadokun. And I remember when I asked Pa Okpadokun what his agenda for the new president would be in terms of governance, he said, look, that agenda was clear in their congratulatory message to him. And basically it was about what? True federalism and the restructuring of the country. Again, I hope we'll be able to play that if we're able to sort some of our... do we have that? Okay. We'll see whether we can play that so that we can get the exact words used by Pa Ayo Okpadokun. But again, Nadeco is still calling for restructuring. The Yoruba Council of Elders are still talking about restructuring and true federalism. Afenifere is still saying the same thing. Ohanize Edengbo still has the position on restructuring and true federalism. And a whole lot of socio-cultural groups are also talking about true federalism as far as Nigeria is concerned. So before I bring you Nuruddin, Joseph Folosho, please permit me to play this sound bite. You know, that interview, that part of the interview with Pa Ayokpadokun on setting the agenda for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We'll take that sound bite and then we'll be right back to delve straight into this particular conversation. It's still Political Roundtable on Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.
I feel saddened that the people who eventually took over governance after our own painful, titanic, democratic campaign and struggle to send the military back to the barracks. The military juggernauts, both serving and retired, conspired to ensure that we never had democracy. They posted on Nigeria one of the former commanders-in-chief in the person of General Obasanjo. Obasanjo never promoted, he never popularized democracy or democratization. He never did anything to enhance the quality of public policy that we endanger justice, equity, and the rule of law.
All right, I think there's a little bit of a mix-up there. That was the entire interview, but I actually wanted that part of agenda setting for the new president. We'll see that we can actually still play that part of that particular interview. Now, Nuruddin, I'll start with you. Again, we'll still continue to try to see how we can get across to Barrister Curtis Adigba. Now, Nuruddin, restructuring. Nigerians are talking about it. And, of course, the major points are basically restructuring in the area of devolution of power. The issue of state policing, as far as security is concerned, it's also a major talking point for people who are talking about true federalism and restructuring of the country. If you remember, Nuruddin, Joseph Folorunshor, in 2017, the APC set up a committee led by the former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai. It was a 23-member committee, and the idea was to bring up a framework for proper federalism. And that committee submitted a report in 2018. And the major recommendations were on devolution of power. They also agreed that Nigeria needed to devolve power and run a truly federal system of government. There was also the issue of state policing that was also suggested by the committee. Independent candidacy by members of by anybody that wanted to contest any elective position, so long you have resigned from any political party 6 months before the election. So the idea of independent candidacy was also suggested. Local government autonomy, and then the issue of resource control. Again, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made an inaugural statement. There was Democracy Day broadcast, and on one or two occasions, now even in Paris recently, he's been talking to Nigerians, giving the idea of what he wants to run in government. But do you see him committing to the idea of true federalism and devolution of power?
Well, it's going to be it's going to be a tough order. Forget what politicians normally say when they've not gotten to power. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, and it's another different ball game as we speak. Let's start from the issue of Republican Constitution of 1963. That every politician, when they want to talk about resurgery, they will go to that constitution. And this is a constitution that we use only for about 3 years before Major Sike Uzegu and his people overthrow the government. And in fact, one of the crises that led to the issue of January 15, 1966, 1963 Republican Constitution was part of the problem. So we cannot have the best constitution without the attitude. Even if we use the Constitution of United States of America or United Kingdom and we don't have right attitudes and sincerity, then it's going to be very, very difficult. Then on the issue of restructuring, one thing that I see in this, even in the committee headed by former Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, it's just a situation at that particular time. If you look at the committee, it was majorly saturated by governors. When you look at it, it's just like state government, which is a component government in true federalism structure, want to take from the center power from the federal government and add it to their own, and they don't want to remove their own and drop it for the local government. Because if we are talking about restructuring, as much as some certain things that the committee and some Nigerians really want to be dropped from the center government to the component government, which is the state also have to unburden himself and give some to the local government. Let's start from the issue of state policing. If we want to look at our environment, there is nothing wrong with state policing. It's going to enhance the federal police, after all, in another country. But if you look at the political angles to it, the way some certain governors are making sure that anybody that wants to contest against them, even within their party and outside their party, is going to smell hell, compared to when they have state police that is under their domain. That one is one. Then two, these particular governors at that particular time, that are part of that particular committee, how many of them that the state House of Assembly in their state voted for LG autonomy? Did you remember that these particular governors, on the name of Nigerian Governors Forum, sue federal government when he issued a particular order on the issue of autonomy of the local government, and they won? So is it the same kind of a governor that is not looking for the autonomy, or that is looking for sharing of power between the federal government and the state government? Then on the issue of some certain areas that we want to draw for the state. One, is it the same state that fail in paying worker salary? Is it the one that will have his police that they are going to be holding? No state is practically paying 30,000 minimum wage. Is it the same states? Do you know that there are some certain states that they hold retirees? Some states, they don't know the months. But there are some certain states, 22 months, 24 months, in this the same country. Did they have the huge resources? Okay, if we are dropping that, for instance, in the issue of natural resources, that they should be maintaining the natural resources in their state, how many of our governors are creative enough? How many of them have shown that sense of creativity? Then if you want to look at that word, because they normally use that word, that federalism, true federalism. The last time I checked, Nigeria is still practicing federalism. They're still sharing of power between the center government and the federal government and the component unit. And that's why state can sue federal government on some certain issues. Although we may not be, and in the world, there is no place that true federalism is being practiced. It's only when you want to pass confederalism, which each state has its own independence, like the one of United States of America. But if we are talking about federalism, there is no country in the world that is passing through federalism. But one thing that is sacrosanct in our own case is this: which type of politicians are going to really work on this? Will Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during his own tenure of 4 years, provided that nothing changes, will now have state police across the 36 states, including the one of Abuja? Maybe federal is going to control the one of Abuja as a federal capital territory. Then two, where is the money to finance that? Two, on the issue of natural resources in each state, the way you are going to see Samfara is going to sit on his own gold, mine it itself, maybe through some certain private establishment, and have it maybe send tax down to the federal government. The same way that our waterways in Lagos and other natural resources, even part of the oil that was said to be on some part of the water in Lagos state, is going to be controlled. Will federal government that is still looking for money? And if you look at what acting inspector general of police Egberokun said, immediately entered the first strategic meeting he has with the high caliber officers, one of the things that he said that I hold surely is that he is going to imbibe community policing, not state policing, although he doesn't have the power. But where I'm going is this: with what we have on ground, can Bola Ahmed Tinubu unbolts what many politicians, because I won't say majority of the politicians, there are some certain governors in Nigeria, there are some certain politicians in Nigeria that have said that maybe it's not going to be during their life that we are going to have restructuring, because some certain people in the north believe that restructuring is being targeted at their own geopolitical zone, especially northwest and northeast. That when we are talking about, because there are some certain states, if you remove what is coming from federal government, forget it, there is nothing in that state. In fact, there are some certain states, they only come on the 27th, 28th of every month, basically to share the allocation, allocate whatever they want to allocate, and wait for another 20 something in another month. So, and that is the thing. Then how many creative governors do we have? We know a lot of governors, even in the oil-rich states. How many of them has maximized the environment they have, the environment they have, to really make sure that they enrich the state? Then the issue of corruption. If you look at the history of Nigeria, you can say every politician is corrupt, but majority of our former governors and present governors, they have an emblem on corruption on them that a lot of people, when they want to say, and if you look at Nigerian politics, is basically meant to be for the governors. In fact, if you want to look at it realistically, it is better for you to be a governor than to be a president, because the ethic you are going to have as a president is going to be different from the one of a state. And the better place to steal, when you are sitting in front of the cookie jar, when you control everything from House of Assembly, from local government, you determine who becomes senator, you determine who becomes House of Rep, you determine who becomes local government chairman, you determine who heads the party in every local government, then it is very, very easy to be a governor and be an governor. Will Bola Ahmed Tinubu unbolts the issue of true federalism? Only time will say, but I can tell you, with what we have, is going to be very, very, especially in some certain areas.
All right. Again, like I said during the introduction of the show, the argument for true federalism, devolution of power, structuring, is dependent on whoever is putting that argument on the table. There are too many issues lumped into that idea. But there are people who will tell you that, look, there are major issues that we can begin to talk about, at least to use it as a basis for arguing on restructuring and true federalism. One of them is the issue of policing and security in the country. And we're going to be looking at that, let's just look at the issue of policing in Nigeria, for example. There are people who believe that, look, we basically took the American Constitution, in terms of federalism. But what we have is not structured actually after what obtains in the United States when it comes to security. In the United States, for example, you have the FBI, which takes care of some particular forms of crimes and all of that, which is like a federal agency. And each state also has its own policing, to the point where there are local areas called the county police that takes care of these things. Whether we like it or not, in the last 8 years, the level of insecurity that we've witnessed, well, we may even take it to 16 years and all of that, has also risen, raised the issue of true federal system of government, restructuring, and then state policing. Joseph Olorunso, this is the president now. We've not really had anything from him in that direction. Although there are people who will tell you that there's this issue of him signing the electricity bill, which also portends and tends to indicate the idea that he may begin to look at devolution of power. But let's take the issue of state policing, for example, Joseph. Do you see the president taking the bull by the horns and, belling the cat and ensuring that, at least when it comes to policing, we're able to devolve it from the federal to the point where we have state police, and we may even be talking about local government policing system?
I don't think it is possible.
Why?
It may not be possible because the president have appointed the acting IGP now.
Okay.
Now, if you want to talk of restructuring in the police, it means that even IGP have to go.
Yeah, maybe it will come with time.
No, IGP have to go, because if we say we should copy from the United Kingdom, the Metropolitan Police, the highest officer there is a commissioner who oversee all the activities. I think I've been trying to do this where we copy IGP. I don't know where the country or an arrangement for where we copy Inspector General of Police, someone that will sit in Abuja, and he will now be seeing what is going on in Makoko, in Yaba. He will be telling us what is, or directing what is going on in Ekpe, and that is why things are the way they are today. Security is a very, very sensitive issue that you need to be on ground. But in as much I will continue to say, there are some cases that can be going on in Antonio here. You hear that they say the IGP directed, and that is the final. You know, the issue that happened in, sometimes I refer to it, the issue that happened in Tomiland Bridge between an individual and Sheun Kuti.
Sheun Kuti and a police officer.
What we heard there was, IGP has directed the arrest of
Sheun Kuti.
So person. The question is, the IGP know that there is a DPO overseeing that site. He know that there is an area commander overseeing the activity of DPO. He know that there is a commissioner of police in Lagos overseeing police command in Lagos. He know that there is an AIG overseeing Lagos and Ogun State. It means that you don't have confidence, or these people, they did not know their work. That is why immediately you see that thing on other social media or in the news, you are now directing from that very, and at the end of the day, you see that when they go to court, they lost all this case.
Okay. Well,
they lost the case.
So to you,
we don't have the mind at all.
We don't have the willpower.
We don't have we don't have the willpower. There is called a constitutional issue.
Okay.
The president should send a bill. If you want state police or community police, they should send a bill to the House of Assembly for them to review the structure of the Nigeria police.
All right.
If we didn't do that, it's going to be very, very tough. Then if you now come to the police, go, to me, I think the highest enemy of Nigeria police is Nigeria as a whole, or the government, or the government. Because if you look at it, in Nigeria police, we have anti-fraud unit.
Okay.
We have admin. We have homicide. We have various units.
Yeah.
But you still have EFCC, which is more or less
practically almost all the job of the police.
You understand? We have road safety. Police have a traffic unit
department.
Yes, you understand? Why not? If we are serious, without even mentioning the war restructuring, some of those departments, instead of you now be having road safety, EFCC, ICPC, structure the police for effective policing. Because in as much as we continue to any issue, we create another problem. If there's any issue, we create another problem. It just shows that we are not very serious. Then, lastly, before we say let's the structure, what is the structure
that we're running? Can we define what structure we're running?
Structure first. Because we don't have a structure. Because you need to have a structure for you to say, okay,
you want to restructure.
Let us restructure. And that is why, from what you say and what Oga say, he say true federalism. It means that we don't even have federalism
to start with.
That's why we are saying let's have a true federalism.
Mr. Curtis, good evening. Or would I say good afternoon? How are you doing?
Good afternoon.
All right.
I'm doing well as much as I can.
Okay. We just had to drag you in all the way from the United States of America. Now, you know, I have Nuruddin Adegbero here in the studio. We have Joseph Olorunso in the studio. And of course, I've given you the topics that we will be discussing on the show this evening. And of course, the first one is the issue of true federalism, the renewed call from a number of groups, that Nigeria has to practice true federalism and that we need to restructure. And of course, we gave some form of historical background to the extent that, look, even in 2017, the APC set up a particular 23-man committee led by the former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai. And that, look, in 2018, the committee was able to, submit a report. But the report, God knows where it is now, whether it's still one of those many reports hidden somewhere that we don't know in the country. And I also, went memory lane to an event where Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then, not the president, but leader of the APC, had also alluded to the fact that Nigeria needed to practice true federalism and restructure. But now he's the president, and we're asking the same question. The issue of state policing, resource control, devolution of powers, local government autonomy, and some of the issues that are germane to the conversation on restructuring of the country. Do you think the president, because again, he made an inaugural speech, he has made Democracy Day speech, he has also spoken to Nigerians on different forums, but do you see him as somebody who is going to commit to the idea of restructuring that he has always talked about before becoming president?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Before I go to answer that question directly, let me deviate a little bit and puncture this argument that only true federalism can guarantee development. Hope you know that the United Nations has 193 members. Out of the 193, 165 don't practice federalism. They practice unitary system of government. Yes, that 85% of this country do not practice federalism. You go to the UN, what they call the Human Rights Index. This is the first 189th world. The first 20 of how many people in those countries are doing better.
You may have to shift your position a bit. It's really breaking. The line is breaking. Maybe you need to shift your position a bit.
Can you hear me now?
I think it's better now. Yes, a lot better now.
Now, out of the top 20 countries in the world that are doing much better in terms of living conditions and conditions of life for their people, the first 13 are not practicing federalism, whether it is fake or true federalism. Now, what that tells you is that federalism is not a silver bullet. It does not guarantee development, right? Parliamentarianism does not guarantee development. Whatever ism of government does not guarantee development.
Or structure that you run.
It's not the structure. What guarantees development and progress is the quality of governance by those who are in charge of governments all over the world. The United Kingdom, as we have said, don't even have a conventional kind of constitution. They don't have states providing leadership rights. They have the federal government and they have local governments, which they call boroughs. So this whole idea in Nigeria that until we have true federalism, which makes no sense, we cannot develop. You know, it's just the whole mockery of the Nigerian people and the lack of desire by political leadership of the country to move the country forward. Now, having said that, let me now go to your question. You see, will he be willing to restructure? And if you look at the events of our past years, the answer will be no, and I will tell you why. The president is the most powerful presidency in the world. One of the most powerful presidencies in the world. And nobody who is not willing to lead for causes greater than himself will want to give up on such power. Who have people, they almost have their disposal rights. They can orchestrate events that will engender development in Nigeria. But as we have seen, you cannot rely on the goodness of an individual to develop a country. You have to rely on the powers and the strength of institutions. Because if human beings are fickle in nature, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
Now, you recall that restructuring was a big issue, but when the president became president, even though the circumstances that brought him to power, the death of Abiola, the death of Abacha, and all the issues that collided together at that point in time, restructuring was a heavy issue that the Nadeko guys put on the table in the country. But what happened when Obasanjo became president? He didn't restructure the country, and we didn't hear so much about restructuring in the country. Not until Yar'Adua came. After that election that was deeply flawed, the cry for restructure became so high and very loud. I hope you remember that time.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Now, after the death of Yar'Adua and Jonathan took over, again, the cry for restructure muted. We didn't hear anything about it again. Not until Jonathan was seeking for second term, that the current president led the Nadeco forces to start calling for restructuring, and when the national eventually called the constitutional conference that was supposed to look at the constitution and make some recommendation, everybody because they said it wasn't genuine, he had no genuine intention. I think that thing was very
Barrister, Barrister, the line is still breaking. I don't know if you really want to just adjust your position a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Okay, so now the whole idea about restructuring under Buhari, again, we start hearing so much about restructuring under Buhari. And now that we have a southern, nobody is setting the agenda on restructuring anymore. And that's why I wrote something like I told you.
Well, I think
2 days ago.
Yes, okay.
Hear me?
Yes, we're with you.
Okay, that's why I said, dear Southerners, this is your opportunity to restructure Nigeria. Because it's beginning to look like the issue of restructure only comes up when the president is not the Southerner. So the question is, will President Bola Tinubu go forward with restructuring the country, right? I don't think it will happen under him.
You don't think it will happen under him?
Right, because I don't think it will happen. And I want to be surprised here. I think that what we are going to witness will be some tokenisms. A little touch here and there. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
But the fundamental structural issues will not be dealt with, because here we want to keep that power.
Absolute power.
That voltage, absolute power to be able to orchestrate things. That's what I think he will do.
Okay. Well, again, I think there seems to be a consensus from everyone on the roundtable this evening that, look, the idea of restructuring may just be mere, sloganeering and, statements by politicians to just begin to, sway our minds towards a particular place that we may not get the commitment. But again, let us start by saying, do we on this table believe that we need to restructure the country? Let us even leave the idea of whether the president will be committed to restructuring or through federalism or not. Let's look at what we are talking about here. The issue of policing, resource control, because there are people who argue that, look, when federating units, regional government that we practiced in the past, had regions controlling their resources, Nigeria did better. Of course, the easy mention would be the fact that the Southwest was able to develop using cocoa proceeds. There was a granite pyramid in the north, the southeast, and that, look, the reason why there seems to be this lazy attitude to governance at the federating unit is because everybody just waits for it to happen at the end of the month. And of course, we've all folded our arms to only rely on resources from petroleum products or from the crude oil. Again, let's just answer this way. Nuruddin, do you believe that Nigeria needs to restructure? Or do you think that, look, the structure is not defective, we just have to walk around it and then change our attitude?
Restructure, if you look at that word, politicians in Nigeria, they know how to coin word that you think it means something. But by my own, I will not use the word restructure. We need to look into those cardinal points that they are presenting as an emblem of restructuring. Number one, police. Do we need state police? For me, any way we want to divide our police to in Nigeria, for us to have security across the board, either by dividing it with the state, either by having a local government police, I'm totally in. So far, every Nigerian, from Lagos down to Delta, from Delta down to Kwara, from Kwara down to Kano, from Kano to Bauchi, from Bauchi to Akwa Ibom, for Akwa Ibom down to Aba, can have a security that everybody can sleep conveniently without thinking of anything. I'm in. If the definition of it from the angle of the politicians is now restructuring, no problem. But my own is that any division, any way that will make sure that our police is being broken down for effectiveness, I'm in. Then the issue of resource control. It's going to be very, very difficult. I stand to be corrected. Those periods that we are using regionalism that people are talking about, there are 3 things that are driving things at that particular time. Number 1 is the men. Those men there,
the caliber of politicians.
The caliber of politicians. There are those people that love Nigerians. There are those people that are incorruptible. Even if they are corrupted, their level of corruption, if it is 5%, then we have over 250% as we speak. Another thing again is that majority of those people that are leading us at that particular time, they are well educated. What I mean educated, they are well exposed and they are ready to do something. And you will see that the kind of performance you are going to see from 1999 to 2003, you can't see it again. You remember when Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor in Lagos State, Segun Oshoba in Ogun State, we have Lamadeshino in Oyo State. You remember Bisi Akande in Osun State. They may have their own problem, but you could see that you can see point out to 1 or 2 things that have done. If we have the same men, then the issue of resource control will be very, very easy. Which kind of politicians do we have now? Are we not talking about politicians that did not have school certs? Are we talking about politicians that even their education is the educational certificate is being tampered with? You've never had a governor that did not have, that we didn't know is till date. We don't know the primary school he attended. We don't know the secondary school he attended, but he have NYSC certificate. Are we not talking about a governor, a sitting governor, that the issue of call to service in NYSC is still a problem? Are we not talking about a situation in this particular country where we have somebody that wants to be Speaker House of Representative that have to use Toronto certificate? Are we not talking about a situation where some certain politician, the school they attended is in doubt? Are we talking about the one that the age, they are the 5-year-old when they give birth to their first daughter? So if you are talking about the same men and you want to compare it when we have resource control at that particular time, then it's going to be. Then another one is the issue of materials. At that particular time, as Southwest is boasting of cocoa, you go to the east, they have palm kernel, they have everything, and it's healthy competition among them. Are we having the same politicians that healthy competition is happening among the governors? At times I always wonder, in their governors forum, what did they normally discuss? Because if I'm having much project in my state and you are not having a particular major road, we know some certain former governor that they have never constructed 20 kilometers at that particular time. Then the last one is about money. The money they have at that particular time is so valuable, and that is 3 years I'm talking about. It's so valuable compared to what we have, and the little that we even have now. This set of people, they are still ready to steal it. They will not just steal it, use it in Nigeria. They will use it and send it to abroad for keep. So if you are looking at that particular angle, it's going to be very, very difficult on the issue of resource control, and we don't have exposed, and we are not having educated. When I mean educated, it's not about going to school. It's about know what you are going to use your certificate and your national brain to do. So if you have that kind of people now, you can never, as much as all those things need to be changed, but the caliber of people that we have now, even if we work on our constitution and make this thing happen without having a very good men that are intelligent, like we have in those days, then we are still wasting our time.
All right, Joseph Folonshaw. Again, I'll look at the critical issues under restructuring. Because immediately I threw in the question of will the president commit to the idea of true federal restructuring. The consensus was that we may not really have a situation where it's going to commit to it, but some tokenism here and there, 1 or 2 things here and there that would of course give us a semblance of commitment to true federalism. But for it to be holistic, we may never get it from this government. But let us now ask ourselves, I'm going to ask you, do you believe that we need to restructure? And some of the things highlighted as restructuring, state policing, resource control, local government autonomy, those high points, those major key issues that we throw into the argument when we talk about restructuring. Do you believe in them as a basis for restructuring?
Okay, let me start with 2 points from my grandfather. I think I said it here one day, say, for you to wake a person that is pretending to be sleeping,
it's very difficult.
It's very, very difficult. And Nigeria is pretending
from now
to,
to tomorrow
to be sleeping. And the second one from my grandfather, there was a man, and they say, when are you going to marry? Say he's raising money to marry 5 wives at the same time. So the man end up 15 years.
What you about
instead of not so it's still the same in line using to look at Nigeria. in Nigeria, let's ask ourselves, we have Nigeria Governor Forum.
The NGF.
What's
the very powerful NGF.
Very powerful. But how has that power that they have affect Nigeria life positively? We have Nigeria South-South Governor Forum. We have Nigeria Southeast Governor Forum.
Governors Forum.
We have the Northern Governors
Forum.
The question now is, all these forum, what is the importance of this arrangement? Because, for example, if we have the maybe Southwest Governor Forum, who will stop Ogun State, Lagos State to have a ray, or all the neighboring villages or town for them to have a synergy and see that you can have option of staying in Akute when you are working in Lagos. But if you want to see some bad area of Nigeria, go to the boundary between state to state. Even when the state is the same party, you don't see even development. So we're in the same party. Mr. Fuad, you are governor of so state. This road linked to so village. Can we start from that? You start from your state. I start from, let's meet at the boundary.
So that regional, cooperation amongst them, we don't even see.
If we cannot do this, even though you have a very fantastic structure with this kind of mind, we still remain the same thing. There was a time, I think it was Governor Makinde that resolved issue between Zilado University.
Yes, between Oyo and Osun.
That was the university that always.
No, he bought it over.
The number of years they strike is more than
because of that argument.
Just two states that speak almost the same language.
The same
everything, but for them to now see that, okay, this university is one of a liability that we inherited when we are in one state. What is the budget for the year?
Let's just work together.
You bring your 50%, I bring my 50%. It was a battle to the last until the governor of your state now said, you know what? Let me just leave it. Let me pay you
Take
off.
it over,
and you go with. So what I'm asking is this: let us appeal to our mind to say, okay, we need to move Nigeria forward. Look at the second schedule of Nigeria item. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength. How many of these people that even serve Nigeria, before we not talk of
with all their strength?
How many of them that are faithful to themselves, not to talk of faithful to
the
Nigeria?
country.
It's only in Nigeria that if you want to see some governors in various states, you can easily see them in Abuja than their state.
Even their state.
Even they have a particular hotel they normally stay that you see all of them easily.
As for which country in the world that the person who is the number one citizen of a state doesn't believe on that state,
doesn't even
stay in that state. He doesn't sleep there, except maybe even their location. Sometimes they share it in Abuja.
Yes.
And saying you transfer with technology, they transfer what you want to then So the issue there is this: except we sit down and say, okay, we have a problem. Nigeria, we are yet to agree that we have a problem. That's why we continue to have all this debate. Let us agree that we have problems that are affecting our health. We have problems that are affecting our education. We have problems affecting our the agricultural sector. We have problems that if affecting it is then we now say, okay, what is the way forward? If you look at mainland FM, you can have all this wonderful structure. If you are not here, Auntie Sandra is not here, another wonderful.
And nobody commits to anything.
Nobody commit here. Nothing will happen. So let us appeal to our conscience. Let us appeal to our minds. Okay, Nigeria need to be the true giant of Africa. But the ones who say Nigeria is giant of Africa, we are just deceiving ourselves.
All right, Barrister Curtis. Again, the same question, but because what I'm getting here is that look, and I think you started it with your statement too. That look, how many of the countries in the world even practice federalism? A lot of them practice unitary system of government. Some of them
get results.
Some of them monarchical system of government and all, and they get the results. But again, we are talking about Nigeria now and our own peculiarities, our own structural issues that we have always talked about. So, for the sake of argument, the issues around restructuring through federalism, devolution of power, state policing, local government autonomy, resource control, these are issues that a lot of scholars, a lot of political pundits, technocrats have said that look, if we go on that line, if we use that as a basis for us to restructure the country, we may eventually get it right, even though we will still continue to have issues of politicians not committing to the nation. But look, the structure can make them commit to development of the country if we have a proper structure. So the question again is, do you believe in restructuring And you believe in those high points, those major issues around state policing, resource control, local government autonomy, and the rest?
Okay, so can you hear me?
I'm with you.
You know why I think this is a mockery of the very critical issue? How can governors depend on the federal government to distribute money to them? How can they even be talking about federation? You know of any federal system where the central government is the one that distributes money to the states and constituent levels of government.
Yeah, the federating unit.
When you have a federal system, states generate their funds and keep their funds and then pay taxes to the federal government. Why are governors only concerned about true federalism when it comes to local government funds? The states are not interested in doing heavy lifting. All they want is for the federal government to give them the money, right? When you talk about state police, they tell you, there are two arguments against state police. One, federal government is taking a chunk of the money, and states don't have enough money to run state police. And the second argument is that, you know what? State governors will use it against the people, right? However, is the federal police not being used against political opponents? I hope you are hearing me.
I'm with you, Mr. Curtis.
Now, number two, why is it that these governors who complain that they are helpless when it comes to enforcing the laws that will benefit the ordinary people? How is it very easy for the same governors to use the police they cannot use to fight crime, to fight their political opponents at the state level? Do you know any governor today who is against a political opponent in the state that cannot use the police to prosecute that opposition?
So the same police they can't use to fight crime in their state, but can use against political opponents.
Yes. So this is the whole truth. They know that what we have is not working. But I will tell you the simple truth. What we have that is not working is the best system to keep them in power. I hope you understand that.
Yes, I'm with you.
Because the kind of government we are running in the country, we are running a close community system of democracy. It's like a gated community. If someone who is already in the community holds you by the hand and takes you in, then you have changed location, you join the people, and then what you used to say before is no longer important to you. But democracy should be an integrated community where you find all sorts of people, right? So I believe, one, that for our country to make progress, right?
Yes.
We must have a viable plan system.
Oh, well, the line is breaking, Mr. Curtis. Okay, all right. I think we'll try and try to reconnect back to him. It's understandable, the network, but again we'll continue to push. Now, let's just move to the second issue, because again we're fast running out of time, and of course the second issue is the issue of the appointment of ministers. There's a lot of report. Mr. Curtis, are you still with us?
I'm here with you.
Okay, please just go on now, because we lost you a bit. Yeah. Hello?
The point I'm making is democratic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I think we'll try and call
democratic government. We have.
All right. So let's just move straight to the second issue. We'll try and see whether we have something clearer when we call him back again. Now, a group of farmers, in the agricultural sector, have made an appeal to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, the way it is, people are saying that when the 10th Assembly resumes for plenary, we may have a situation where the list, ministerial nominations, will be sent to House for screening and all of that. Of course, I'm sure that it will not wait 6 months unless something miraculous happens. I doubt if we're going to have to wait 6 months, to get the names of ministerial nominees and all of that. But a group of farmers seems to have set the agenda for us as far as ministers are concerned, in new government. And what they have said is that, look, they are recommending that the president appoint a qualified professional as the Minister of Agriculture instead of a politician. That's what they are saying. And I think it's not limited to the agri sector. I was listening to our sports guys on Saturday, and their conversation also was, look, who should be the sports minister? And to a great extent, they were all unanimous in their opinion and suggestion on who should be the sports minister. Because what they have said is that, look, if you do a long list of all the sports ministers we've had from 1999 till date, none of them have been a thoroughbred sports person or that understands the business of sports. And I think the last one, Sunday Dari, just speaks volume to having a round peg in a square hole. Basically, I think the sports guys were even analyzing when he was talking about his achievements, and what he said is that, look, he has a basketball court in his house in Oshogbo, he has a basketball court in his house in the US, he has a basketball court in his house in Lagos, and all of that. But we must say that, look, it's been quite a chaotic time in our sporting sector in Nigeria. And of course, I think one of the things he said was that, look, we had this female athlete that was able to win gold and all of that. And the sports guy said, look, you are just laying claim to what you did not even invest in and all of that. So, and we know Sunday Dari as a journalist, and all of that, So, again, we need to ask ourselves, to what extent do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will do away with politicians when it comes to ministerial nominations and appointments and work with technocrats? Again, we are looking at the influence of our politicians when it comes to positions like this. So far, the president has appointed 8 special advisors. And I think to a great extent, we may all agree that these are technocrats in reality. And, some of us think would actually even, emerge as ministers. But here we have them now as special advisors. But there are also reports that there's a lot of infighting within the APC already as far as ministerial nomination is concerned and appointments, that the politicians all want it for themselves. In the past, it took President, the former President Buhari almost 6 to 7 months. And at some point, he said that he does not even believe in ministers. And that was why he was so reluctant, that, look, the ministries could be run by permanent secretaries and civil servants and all of that. But eventually, he was forced to appoint. And, it turned out that, look, it was the same old politicians, former governors and politicians that made the list. Now, are we going to have a departure? Do you think that the president, the current president, will have the nerves, we have the balls to, do away with politicians, career politicians, and appoint technocrats as ministers? Nuruddin. Because again, the farmers have already given the lead. They are begging that our Greek minister should be, someone who understands the business, not just a career politician.
Well, let me take it from the angle of the AFAM first. You see, the Farmers Association, they have reasons to say that too. Their eyes have seen shege in the hands of ministers. In fact, during the time of Sabo Nanono, he divided the association, and the minority one was the one he aligned to. The one that is unconstitutional, the one that court say is unconstitutional, is the one he aligned to, so and they are minority. Basically
play politics with the farmers.
And that is the thing. You remember, Sabo Danono is a former minister of Agric. Instead of giving seedlings to farmer, he went to go and build mosques. And I asked him, why did you build mosques? He said that when they finish from farm,
they have to pray.
They have to pray before they are going to the city. In fact, as much as political inclined that Kano State is, all the senators, all the House of Rep members from Kano and Jigawa put together, they make sure that he was removed. In fact, they make sure that he must not return. Because the way Baba Goslow, former President Buhari, he wants to return everybody. That's why you see that under him, minister was just doing what they like. That one is part 1. But 2, will President Bola Ahmed Tinubu do away with politicians? My answer is a big no.
We are still going to say just majorly politicians.
Because he's also a politician himself. It's going to be very, very difficult. When he was governor, who are those people he appointed as commissioners? are those people that work for him. That's why you have Muiz Banire and co, you have Aregbesola and co, you have Fashola and co. Those people that work for him. He's a kind of a politician that believe in reward system. That's why you see a man like Edu, that a lot of us were saying, if that man should be in terms of finance, Minister of Finance. Now he's a special advisor.
Which is an appointment. But
which is an appointment, and he's not a minister. Dele Alake, everybody can say it. If you want to talk about this field of journalism, it feels to be if Alhaji Lai Mohammed can be Minister of Information, Alake is fit. If there is ambassador for information and communication, is fit to be a Minister of Information. If Alhaji Lai Mohammed could be two tenor minister in Nigeria, so
of information,
it's going to be very, very difficult for him to say do away. Then another thing again is that don't let us lie to ourselves. Under President Muhammadu Buhari, all the ministers he appointed across is 43 ministers. Tell me which one is not a politician there. It's only during the time of former president Olusegun Obasanjo. At that particular time, our politicians are still naive.
They were not as
you remember how Aganga become a minister? That they say he represent Lagos State. You remember?
And they forced it on Lagos.
There
were questions about whether he was from Lagos or not. But Baba wanted him and he forced it on Lagos.
And that's the thing. And you look at him. He brought Okonjo Iweala, brought all those ones that are not even have anything to do with campaign.
You think that cannot happen again?
It cannot happen again because our politicians are so wise. In fact, let me use some certain states as a yardstick. Let's start from Ogun State. Will Tinubu want to pick minister from Ogun State? It can only come from 3 angles. From 3 persons.
In Ogun State.
Apart from those 3 persons, forget. He cannot take any other person from those 3 angles. If the minister is not coming from...
As suggestion or as individuals? They have to
yes,
suggest.
I'm talking about individuals. If it's not coming from the governor of Ogun State, Akwa Abiodun, it's going to come from the former governor of the state, Senator Ibuku Almosu. The third one is the issue of Olusegun Aseba, because he see him as elder brother. So now tell me, will he go to Ogun State and go and pick somebody as a minister? He won't consult the 3.
Because the person is a technocrat.
Because somebody is a technocrat. And this is a technocrat that never spends zero. He never travel. He never campaign. He never spend. He doesn't even have political structure. Because let me tell you one thing. One thing is to be a minister, to have all the trenchy, whatever. Another one is to have the political will to even do some certain things. That's why you see Minister for Adam Smith always give a theory about the importance of economics. He gave a lot of one. In fact, he gave the importance on subsidy. Yes, that was a book that he did on subsidy, that when you remove subsidy, you'll be able to use the same money. But he doesn't have a political will like other Moshi Omole that goes to the labor unions that they should not go on strike because he played a major role in that particular whatever. So with that, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to look away. Then look at Kano. If he wants to pick anybody in Kano, if he's not coming from Baba Gandola, former governor of the state, Ganduje, he's going to come from Kwankwaso. Now tell me, is he going to go to Kano and bring somebody either from Nasarawa local government, either from Taroni or Kofar Nasarawa? He can't. And that is the reason why the ministers are majorly that's why it's a constitution itself. It's majorly for them. That's why you see the special advisors, is basically belongs to the president. That's why you see that people don't question the states that those special advisors come from. Whether it circulates, whether it doesn't circulate, people did not even want to. But the money minister, it is constitutional matter that he must speak from each state and also from the political zone. But one thing that is so certain is this: for the type of leadership that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu plays, I can tell you. But one thing he can do, he can have a situation where he's going to have some certain politicians that have specializations. But the problem there is this: even in Nigeria, what are specialized? Even the usual of technocrat is Governor Emefiele not a technocrat, because before he become politician, because he later wanted to be president. But he was, and then another one. Let me use Anambra as an example. Do you know that all those people that have ruled Anambra as a governor, starting from Peter Obi down to Willie Obiano, now we have Charles Soludo, put all of them together, as Anambra better than any other state? Because these people, when Peter Obi became governor, he was the youngest bank CEO, very brilliant and extremely brilliant. That was what asked me to be. Then look at Willie Obiah now. We know what he did with one particular bank. I don't want to give them free whatever. Turn it around. Now Charles Oludo, everybody knows Charles Oludo with economics, with money chain finance and whatever, CBN governor and whatever. As Anambra State, what have they done to Onitsha market? Have they transferred it to the world? So one thing that is so certain is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be able to shy away from politicians. But one thing that is certain is that he should look away where he will be able to balance the situation, not just give us the ruffle of the politicians, and give us the one that at least we can tweak them to some certain level for him to achieve.
All right, Barrister Curtis, I think is with us before I come to Joseph Olorun. Hello, Barrister.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, let's look at ministerial appointments, which is the second issue on the roundtable this evening, because again we are fast running out of time. And of course, the farmers have given us the lead, although it has been a conversation out there that the president should begin to look at technocrats to turn things around for the country. But I think over the years, we've seen a situation where ministerial appointment has been for political compensation. It has become a tool for political patronage, where the list is released after made a delay or immediate announcement, and then we go through it, and the only thing you see are just names of former governors, political bigwigs, party leaders, and all of that. And the big question we're asking ourselves now that the farmers are begging the president not to choose a minister of agriculture who is a politician, but someone who understands the business and who is a technocrat in that field. So we're asking you look, did you see the president having the guts, having the willpower now to do away with career politicians as ministers and appoint technocrats as ministers?
Well, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
First and foremost, there is nothing that says that if you're a politician, you cannot be a good agric minister. I mean, I think we are today with me, of course, fraternize with politics in Nigeria. And we can all say that he was a fantastic agriculture minister, right?
Yes, additional.
Yes, so I think what the farmers are simply saying is that the president should hire technocrats in the fields that are very critical. Now, and that is well taken. But this is the reality. This president came into power not by the activities of technocrats. I hope we know that. And in politics,
politicians brought him in.
In politics, yes, in politics, you divide the spoils for those who participate, especially in Africa and most especially in Nigeria. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
Now, you know how power is shared in the country. First and foremost, if the president wants to appoint ministers, it's going to depend on the list of nominees sent to state parties in Congo. I hope you are hearing me. You know that governors of APC, they are the ones who will nominate ministers from their states. That has always been the system in the country. I don't need to be more competent or most competent in the situation. They are simply going to nominate their loyalists. And the president many times don't have much say. Don't forget that when President Buhari came in, there was this story around him that because he didn't hire commissioners for governors, governors cannot hire ministers for him. You heard that story. But at the end of the day, what happened?
The governors still got their way.
The governors still got their way. So what you are going to see, President Bola Tinubu will make attempt to hire some technocrats. But predominantly, his ministers will be politicians, especially former governors who are just hovering around him like vulture over cops. Wherever he goes, you see them around there. You understand? Like Nuri said, how are you going to live out Ganduje? How are you going to live Atiku
Bagudu? Yeah.
Former governor of Kebbi.
Erufai.
How are you going to live the former governor of Jigawa State?
Badaru.
How are you going to live Kawabekawemi from Ekiti? you are going to see them regrouping. And I can assure you that over 70% of the members will be former governors and deep in the wood politicians. Yes.
So okay, now Joseph Folorunshor, Nuruddin and Barrister Curtis have simply just said that, look, don't let us begin to deceive ourselves. It's going to be the same of the same. But there are people who are already saying that, look, maybe the president understands this. That's why he seems to be concentrating on first appointing special advisors. And there are names that, there are people who are speculated that, look, should ordinarily have been appointed as ministers who were already seen as, special advisors. Of course, Mr. Wale Edun has been touted by political pundits as someone that ordinarily should have been appointed as a minister. The same thing for Dele Alake. We can all agree. In fact, there have been rumors that, look, he had to take some persuasion to allow him take that position of special advisor. That ordinarily he wanted the Minister of Information. Again, like I said, just mere speculations out there. But do you see a situation where, again, like Barrister Curtis have said and Nuruddin, that, look, the ministerial positions are going to be filled by politicians and former governors, and that, look, it's still going to be the same thing that we always say, nothing going to change this time?
Let me take it from one of these brilliant psychologists, Sigmund Freud. He said that if you want to check people's behavior, go and look at their goals in life.
Their goals in life.
Tailor your behavior. I can tell you that almost from the governor and if possibly from the president now that they just resumed less than a month, right?
Yes.
As the president, they are thinking of 2027. What will happen in 2027 is in the table. What are the permutations that we are going to use, and this will inform their selection of minister and the rest of it. But again, we are in deep trouble. The trouble is this: if you look at Nigeria presently, the number one is a former governor, number two former governor, the Senate president is a former. All of them, they are all two-term governor of various states. That shows to you that we will be at the mercy of governors, governor and past governor. And it showed that if you want to be a minister, if you don't get their support, you are going nowhere. And I don't think the president will in any way disappoint them. Before, if you look at it, is it 9 governors there from the north?
Yes.
Who say that, you know what, this is the town, the power must go to the south. And they not only go to the south, they root for Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
I don't think Bola Tinubu is a person, if you look at his character, is a person that will use you and dump you. I don't look at him doing that kind of thing. So he will look for one way or the other. If I thought he may not use them, he will ask them, please, if you don't want to be in my cabinet, can you send someone to represent your interests? It therefore means that politician is going to be strongly take some strong position in the next cabinet. So to me, we should just what we need to do as Nigeria now for us to see, okay, is it at the media, the civil society, we need to put this government at the federal level, state level on their toes.
Okay.
Again, if you look at many conversations, I think we are indirectly saying that the governor in holiday. Nobody is
talking
about governor. What of commissioner for agric in the state?
In the state.
And we don't want any ministers that at the end of 4 years or 8 years is going to tell us, oh, this ministerial position that will give me, I enjoy the Estaco and the rest of them. The constitution did not.
Does not even recognize that position.
And you did not return all the money. You will not have a minister who is after 8 years and say, when they make me minister for AB,
I didn't know anything about it.
What to do? But you take it and enjoy it throughout all those periods. So what we're saying is, I want the academia to say, you know what, we are interested in who become the minister for labor, who is going to be minister for education. We know, because we know the story between the former minister, Dr. Igige, and ASU president, that to some extent is as if they want to go on physical combat. So we need a minister of education who will know that if we want to turn things around, education should be given serious priority. We need a minister who will say, oh, the farmer must be safe in their various farm. Because of that, I want to have a strong partnership between the Inspector General of Police or the security sector to ensure that farmer, if you want to sleep in the farm,
You sleep.
you sleep in the farm and ensure that Nigeria did not go to bed hungry.
Okay. We're going to open the phone lines now. Yes, by Curtis. Yes.
Sorry, can I quickly add something?
Yes, please go on.
The only thing that I'm seeing that will be different is that we have a new president who appears to be a micromanager.
Okay.
And I think he will not be standoffish like the last president. You understand?
So even if he appoints politicians as ministers, you think he's still going to micromanage them?
I think he's going to micromanage them. Look at the appointment of the service chiefs. This is the first time in the history of the country that we are seeing the president appointing service chiefs, GOCs, brigade commanders, artillery commanders. It has never happened in the history of Nigeria. What they usually do is appoint the service chiefs, and the service chiefs will go ahead to appoint the GOCs and the brigade commanders, right?
I'm with you.
But we are seeing that. So I think that this president will manage his ministers. If he's capable of doing that, and then he brings in politicians and he says, well, it doesn't matter, they have supported me, like my colleague there said, 2027 is a goal. I need people who can deliver their state to me in 2027. And the governors will be nominating those that they are sure will not challenge them. First-time governors will not challenge them in 2020, in 2027.
27.
So political consideration will get more of the appointment than whether you're a technocrat or you have the competence and the zeal to deliver.
Okay. All right. Let's open the phone lines now. Again, you can watch the show live, Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. Of course, the first issue on the roundtable is the renewed call for true federalism and restructuring of the country. And we're asking that big question. Will President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commit true federalism and restructuring of the country? And then, of course, the second issue is farmers telling the president to please make sure that the Minister of Agric is a technocrat and not just a career politician. Of course, we are widening that conversation to include all of the ministerial positions, whether we are going to have a president who is going to move away from the past and appoint technocrats as ministers, not just career politicians. We have Barrister Curtis Adigba on the phone line with us all the way from the United States. We have Nordin Adigbenro in the studio, and Joseph Folorunso. And I think there's a consensus amongst all of them that look, nothing really will be different this time. I think it's only Barrister Curtis that thinks that look, because the current president knows how to micromanage, he may still appoint ministers who are career politicians, but he will be able to manage them better than the immediate past president. 09136000410 09136000410. You can also drop your comment on our Facebook platform, Mainland FM 98.3, or you can drop it on YouTube, Mainland 98.3 FM. We are live on those two platforms, and you can also drop your comments there. Okay, let's take the first call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good, sir. Mr. Fuad.
How are you doing, sir?
Fine, my name is Lawal Tabi from Suleri.
Yes.
Oga Fọlọ also agree to you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. And Oga Curtis from America. God bless him.
He's
You see,
listening.
that more for restructuring that people are talking about. For me, I don't really believe on it. Because like Mr. Fọlọ also said here now, what are they doing with the allocation? For past 20-something years, look at the way our state still remain. So, for me, I think it's the kind of way politicians use. They bring different kind of the one they have, all the allocation, what they do with it. Security food, what they do with it. Look at our state. Like Mr. Fọlọ says now, between your region here, they cannot,
Work together.
Collaborate together and do something. It's there for our people. We want to travel to Ibadan now. I beg for the authority to make them open road for us. So we want to travel home.
The place is on lockdown.
I beg.
Yeah.
So make them open road for us.
I think,
you, sir.
Thank you, Lawal Taufik. I think I have to join that call. It's been hell on the Lagos Ibadan Expressway. I think in the last 1 or 2 weeks now, it's been hell for people on that road.
It has been since 1999.
I think, but I think people are going to be traveling now because of this Salah celebration and whatever needs to be done to open up that road. Even on a Sunday, it's on complete lockdown. Thank you so much, Lawal Taufik. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Chama.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Lucky calling from Yanakbaja.
Please go on, Lucky, sir.
I really enjoy the topic this evening.
Thank you.
As the man really said, whether the structure or not the structure, individual matter. Because we still have the same people, no matter how you do it, the same people from 1990 today. So I don't think they are going to do anything different. I think that is why the only candidate I thought was supposed to enter will do better is Peter Obi. Because if you look at when that man was campaigning, people that were pushing him, all of them are technocrats, not politicians. So, as he really said, Tinubu, no matter because the bad people, they are there with them. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Lucky. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kaude from Abeokuta.
Yes, Kaude. Good evening. Please go on, sir.
I greet Nuruddin. I greet you, is it Farouk? Fuad. I won't forget. Fuad. God bless you, sir.
Amen.
And our other man on the other side.
Joseph Folorunsho, Barrister Curtis here.
I greet them. This evening, I think for me, if I look at the trend of how this thing is going now, though leadership is the ability to lead others by influence, and then probably you need to respond to responsibility cheerfully too. I think that this man could or can achieve or probably see reason how he must accomplish for restructuring. But there are certain factors that I'm still looking at that will not allow him to be able to perform in this direction. And these are the people that he wanted to use in the National Assembly, that probably he wanted them to probably see reason why the need that he needed them. So that, I don't know, if probably he could have allowed the National Assembly to have chosen its leadership, I think this thing we are talking about could have worked. But at the same time, if you look at the game we were playing then, I think it is still okay now that we have it for the South people.
Okay.
But where I am coming is this, sir. If you look at the direction it's going now, I think we can see some kind of creative development, whereby all those he has chosen in terms of service chiefs and they are still ideal, they are still going to give him what he wanted. So the sensitive area we are looking at, which is the restructuring, I think if he knows his assignment at all, and
as
that's what I'm talking
as a president.
As a president, yeah, his assignment is to show, I started with responsibility. He knows what he needs to do, and that is to be firm. Never look on any side. You see, don't look at the square of the country any longer. Do the needful. Do whatever you want to achieve for in time when the ovation is loudest. Okay. Are you with me? People, they will talk. Don't mind them. Be dedicated.
All right.
Be zealous. And then see reason why. Then for the Greek, I think for me, you see, Nuruddin mentioned something about state police. If he could be able to be zealous and be dedicated to what his assignment, he will achieve for state police.
All right.
For Greek, I think we should use farmers.
You spent almost 4 minutes. Let's just so that we can take all that call. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Very good to you, Mr. Fuad.
Good evening, Prince Wise.
Good evening to all your guests in the studio.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. God bless all of you.
Amen.
You see, all of you are talking very well. But I know as well do very well. To talk of minister today, yes, some governor may come on board. But I know he will fail to perform. I want him to fire them. The former president, we always say, they don't know how to.
Say sack them. Sack them.
It will give the timeline. 1 year is fail to perform. This is for you. That's the best thing. Even though the serving chief is going to give them timelines. Because without security, without peace, that you can't talk about tangible development in the country. And I want to say categorically, because before you become a politician, you are a technocrat now. Because when you see somebody, you know you see this one is a graduate, it's a PhD holder, and later become politician. It was once a technocrat. No, but out of what we really know today, how many of them read political science? So once you put you to be a minister of the state, I think the Mr. President have to let them go with him. If we fail to fit my face, I do away with you, and that is tonic. This present government, I know, if he can boldly do what he has done, I'm telling you, we are praying for him to succeed. And the most any minister for agriculture in this time around, what Nigeria needs now is agriculture. They should pump money into this. They should subsidize the agricultural equipment and let Nigeria grow what it can eat. Because I have started with rice now. I want to order. If I've never been to the north, I never been to the east. I'm in the southwest. I'm traveling home now from Lagos to Osun. That's a lot of green land.
All right, Prince.
What our governor do was with all those land.
Okay.
So we should grow what we eat, but pump a lot of money into agriculture and for somebody who is capable to handle the ministry. Good evening to you all.
Good evening, Prince Wise. Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. 091-36000410. We'll take just one call and then we'll take the contributions from our Facebook platform. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Comrade Ogbanago Mohammed Ibrahim.
Hey, good evening, Comrade. How are you doing?
I greet you, sir. Fine,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And greetings to other guests.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Abulegba this evening.
Okay.
Good evening.
Please go on, sir.
Thank you. And Uncle Curtis. Look, I listened to Uncle Curtis and what he said, and that was exactly my thought. The man can micromanage them because there is no way you can do away with politicians. They were the one who helped him into power, including all of us anyway. But again, there are technocrats among our politicians. We must not take that away from them. So that's why he must critically go into those places and look for them. Okay? This thing you are coming to do, if you are not doing it the way the Nigerian people want it, in the next 2, 6, 1 year, you will be fired. And that is what we want. And let me tell us something. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not going to be like other presidents. Because I will not even have any doubt to say anything that in case of 2027, that will not, the level of opposition faced by that man in this election, I don't think his second tenure is going to face that opposition. So that's why he must not listen to those bad bellers that will come to him and start saying, Error, be careful in case of your re-election. He should do what the Nigerian people want.
So what you are saying, comrade, is that focus on now, not the next election. You should focus on what he has now.
You should focus on now. Look, the people of Nigeria believe if you do the right thing, the next election will be walk away for him. Like I said earlier, the level of opposition the man faced outside government, he will never face that in 2027.
That's if he performs, eh?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Thank you, comrade.
President in Nigeria don't take the opposition.
No. I think if he doesn't perform,
Jonathan lost now, even as a president.
By psychology, there are people who say, look, this president is condemned to perform. Don't you think so?
Can you show me? Let me tell you, sir. Apart from Jonathan, that Nigerians have made up their mind to change the president. Do you know of any president in Nigeria that did not perform that had serious opposition in an election?
Well, that's debatable.
Because the president is so powerful.
All right. Okay. Thank you. 09136000410. Let's just take some comments on our Facebook platform. We have Alabi Aidon, who is saying, good evening, members of the Roundtable. on mainland FM. Restructuring is such a difficult task that this present government will not be able to crack because of its complexities and implications. Then thank you so much, Alabi. We have Jami Olamilekan Yusuf, who is saying President Bat should make sure he treasure people's votes with trust, honesty, and he should be a Democrat. And then we also have Owolabi Amos, who is saying, good evening, honorable roundtable members. You are doing a good job by educating and updating the public. I want to submit here that politicians cannot be completely ignored in the presidential ministerial list. There should be checks and balances. If anyone refuses to perform, he or she should be removed. Nigerians are expecting great performance from the president and his team. It should be very It should give every member of his team close marking in order to achieve the desired result. That's Owolabi Amos. We have Kayode Olona. They will say, please let Tinubu listen to our indefatigable indigenous farmers, asking not to have a politician. Now, it should appoint a technocrat to the Ministry of Agriculture. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, everybody in the studio.
Yeah, good evening. Ufoma. Yes, good evening.
Yes, thank you very much. My greetings to everybody and also your lawyer over there. You know, every one of you has said what is right, from Nuruddin, Barrister Curtis, and the other colleague in this. You know, I said one of your programs, say, we did not need restructure. We did not need the people that have the country in the back of their mind. Even though Barrister also said it, most of the developed countries, they did not work by restructure. You know, if our leader have a vision to do what is right, you know, they will just go there irrespective of anybody. They will do what is needful. At the end of the day, we the people that vote any, we will praise them. Like the Nurudo said the other time, there's a certain government from the north, they did not want the structure. So what are they doing for? Now, most the parts of the northern, even though they are across north, they are lacking of education. The education is across border, but the northern parts cover the most Nigeria people that they do not have a quality education. And if the leader over there, they are saying that not restructuring will see the light of the day in that time. So what are they leading for? Those are the people that Jonathan referred to, that it's better for them to go and sleep than forcing themselves on the people today. But I believe that one day, we will have the people who have the nation at the back of their mind, and they give us the benefit of the democracy at the end of the day. Not then they will be praising that, like Buhari that just ended.
All right.
We are the people that we praise.
All right.
I wish everybody a working wonderful day.
Thank you, Ufoma from Godo, 09136000410. The Facebook platform is still running. The YouTube platform also running. Mainland FM 98.3. You can drop your comments there and watch the show live. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello. Okay, I think that caller is not ready to talk to us. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Fuad.
Yeah, good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, and Nuruddin also. All of you are good, right?
Yes, we are all good.
Okay, mashallah. I'm Muhammad from Ikeja.
Muhammad from Ikeja. Okay, good evening.
Yeah. So, this is restructuring of something. Anytime when this so-called restructuring, we start talking about it, as if the only northern Nigeria is the problem.
No, it can never be northern Nigeria alone. It's the politicians generally.
Northern Nigeria is the problem.
Of course, yes.
For anyone to stand that fingering fingers all the time.
To the north.
Anytime when the so-called restructuring come up, every time the problem from the north. We are not the problem of Nigeria. For God's sake. The northern Nigeria is not the problem of Nigeria because of the north that Nigeria is not progressing. Nothing like that. What is this stopping the southerners? For instance, they have huge resources here. For instance, if you compare with the northern Nigeria, they have huge resources. If you look at the resources that they are having and look at the development level that they have here, if you compare with the northern Nigeria, they are having little. I think if you look at it critically, I go around this country, I see everything. There is nothing magic or nothing special about so-called southern Nigeria and the people there also. for you people to always come here to criticizing us. Yes, we have problems. Yes, some of our leaders are active also. Here also they are active as well. They are also stealing, but nobody's supporting any criminality or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say here is that nobody should come here criticizing us all the time that we are the one problem of Nigeria. We are not the problem of Nigeria.
All right.
We also need the development.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
That leadership is around the country, not only
limited to the north. I agree with you completely.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
And I must say, thank you so much for that call. And I agree with Barrister Curtis.
I agree with him 200%.
Yeah, 200% also.
Because the North has nothing to show for dominating the leadership of this country. They have the worst institution.
Barrister Curtis, we are struggling to hear you.
North basically has nothing to show for the And when you come to the South, with all the knowledge, the superiority, and all the resources that they have, they have also not done better than North in terms of performance and deliverance for their people. You know?
So, and I must say that when it comes to even the issue of restructuring, all of the governors, when the idea of local government autonomy came, were all unanimous. I think the only state that allowed for direct payment to the local government coffers, I think it's Kaduna State, El Rufai. Every other governor did not allow it.
It was Kayode who led the entire government in Nigeria against the idea.
And he's a southwesterner.
Even almighty Lagos self was, I know Lagos can never vote
So I agree with the caller that, look, the issue of restructuring is not a northern thing. It's not the north that is saying we should not restructure. It's just the politicians who don't have the will, power to do the right thing.
There's some fear from some certain politicians from the north that restructuring, what it means is this: if they say state by state should be eating from what is in their own state, just like our caller said, there are some certain states they don't have as much as resources some certain southern states has. That is the fear of some certain politicians. But one thing there is that for people in the east, there are some certain people. Look at the refinery area where they have oil. Go to their own state. They did not develop as some states that did not even get 30% differentiation.
Again, these arguments can never end.
When you say some state did not have, I was in Benue, I was in Niger State, I was in Nasarawa. Okay, go to Osun State. I was saying that these states you are saying they don't have with that kind of variable land. I think we should go look at these people to look inward.
I think it's about looking inwards really, because there's no state in Nigeria.
There's no state though.
There's no state.
We are only focused on cheap money from oil.
You know, every month just go to Abuja.
Dormant politicians.
All right. 09136 0000410. Before we take that call, we have this comment from our Facebook platform. Afiz Olayinka Salau is saying Asiwaju should make it 70% politician and 30% technocrat. Akiwumi Adesina did well as agri minister as a technocrat under Jonathan. So Afiz is saying Asiwaju should do 70 politicians and 30% technocrats. Well, I'm sure the ministerial list will come in anytime soon, and we'll then be able to really dissect it and know which ones are politicians and who are the technocrats in the list. 091 36 0000410. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, my name is Austin. I'm calling from Ojo.
Okay, Austin, please go on, sir.
Yes, thank you. I greet everybody, and I want to appreciate those people that you invite. At least I've learned one or two things from their speech.
Thank you.
Thank you for your. I appreciate that. Yes, I want to ask a question now. Can corruption? Can we keep corrupt? Can Nigeria politician or Nigerian? Can we keep that most I call corruption? Can that thing be dead? Can they kill it?
I'm hearing kill. Now corruption monster.
Yes.
Austin, what exactly are you saying? Yeah.
Yes. See, you know what we have just said. We have just said it fine. because every politician that I know are going there for their interests.
Every politician that you know
that is in Nigerian, not all, but
the one that you know
out of 100 politicians, 98 are they are in the office.
So Austin, what do you want to say precisely? We have two issues: restructuring and the issue of ministerial nominations. What do you want to say about that?
Yes. My own point is that some of it like see, somebody cannot help me to read something, and when the time to reward it, I will definitely want to reward that person. So meaning that if nomination will come from that, most of the former governors will definitely be in that cabinet. Okay. Now on the issue of restructuring, like based on what your from Fokola and some there, that the fear is that some of the states they are not having resources as others. So the fear is that if this is done, this channel of this money going about will not be there again. That is why I asked that question. Can that word corruption be killed? Once that corruption is free, everybody become plain. Okay. I think we are good to go as a country.
All right,
God bless Nigeria.
Amen. God bless you to Austin. And I think that the direct answer to that is that yes, we can kill corruption. There are countries that have zero corruption index in their countries. You know, a country like China, for example, you see they are done. That's the consequence. You know. So thank you so much, Austin. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
My brother, I greet you.
Good evening, Obi.
Nuruddin, my Labour Party brother, I greet you. The new convert, Barris, I greet you. For I sent the account, I've not seen anything. I'm dying.
Obi, everywhere red. You
read,
everywhere don't read.
For restructuring, I want to tell us what do something. My people say hero could treat they climb them twice. If you have been talking about Iroko tree, you can't. If you climb at once, the tree is too big that you become afraid to climb the next time. You understand? So whatever he wants to say about restoration, this is the time. He has been saying that as an Adoko person and everything. If he wants to do restoration, this is it. But I know that politicians will not do it. Today, my friend told me that he just came back from Israel. Imo State, they said there's no money in Imo State. They have no person. They sponsored pilgrimage to Israel.
In Imo State?
People. Yes, Imo State government sponsored pilgrimage to Israel.
How many?
3 chartered flights, 1,000 people. 1,000. He called me. He said he brought oil for me. He brought some. I said, any money added? Did you add money or oil? Am I going to chop oil? He was so excited. 1,000 people. For what? And we are
sponsored by the state government.
By state government that have not paid salaries. So our problem is enormous. It's not restructuring. It's not anything. But let us cut wastages. Stop all this. The constitution will have everything is okay. But politicians cannot manage themselves. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, you wonder when states have serious debt issues, lack of development, and you have. I know. Look, the pilgrimages that we've seen, even to the people going to Mecca.
Of this year.
The numbers. I was shocked when I saw the numbers. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Dr.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Damilola from Malaba.
Okay, Damilola, how you doing?
I'm fine. I greet everyone in the studio.
We greet you too.
Good evening. Honestly, you guys are very wonderful. See, the issues of this country, honestly, they are very enormous. A lot of issues to battle with. Now, on this issue of restructuring, it's a must in all ramifications, a must in all sectors. But the funniest thing is, this politician will never accept it. I believe Tinubu can do it. But the thing is, the people around him, would they allow him to actually do that? Because whenever the restructuring, it's always very hard on the elite, always hard on politicians, always hard on political class. Because anytime we restructure, the people used to benefit. But would they be able to? Would Tinubu be able to embrace that, even to the core? Then on the appointment, before Dele Alake became a spokesman. He was acting. I remember the meeting of NSC, when they called, he was acting without being announced then. The thing is, these people will not stop putting a political player list into power. Democrats, they will not go for them. They want to go on the family and say, okay, this one is my man, this one is loyalist, I take this, take that. And that is why things are going on day by day in Nigeria. We're not moving forward. Until we put the right people, in the right office, we will not make this country to move forward. And that is the fact. That's my take. Good evening.
All right, thank you so much, Damilola from Alaba. Oh yeah, we'll take the last call for the evening and then allow Barrister Curtis, Nuruddin, and Joseph to have their final take on the show this evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, the last call for the evening.
Okay. My name is Ola from Oshodi.
Ola from Isheri.
From Oshodi.
Okay, Ola from Oshodi. Please go on, sir.
Yes. What I want to speak is that how we can do it in Nigeria to stop this corruption.
Ola? Hello, Ola?
Hello. I'm with you.
I was wondering whether you just called in to ask a question. So just go on, please.
You see, the corruption that is going up and down, this and this and this and that. I know this corruption is from up. Yes, from the top men in Nigeria. Someone that has millions of naira, billions of naira inside the room.
Okay, Ola. Ola, is it the line or you are the one picking your words? Okay, all right. I think that will be all from what I think we got. You still had to complain about corruption. And I think what I've gotten from every of the contribution on the show, whether from the phone calls or the analysts here, is that look, we can restructure from now till tomorrow. It has to be about the attitude of our leaders, the commitment to the nation. Barrister Curtis, your final take on the show this evening.
Well, we need restructuring. But the restructuring we need more. The restructuring of the mind of Nigeria.
Restructuring of the mind.
If you have the right set of people in that system, right, then we still make that system work well. If you have good systems and it's being run by bad people, you will still get a bad outcome. So the problem of our country is not whether we are a federal system or a unitary system. It is whether we have quality men
running the affairs of the country.
For purposes running the affairs of the country. From the local government, government. That's what we need. And so long as we continue to see self-preservation as the ultimate goal in government by anybody who occupies the position of president, governor, minister, that's why you see every time anybody gets into any position, the governors want to determine who is the speaker. The governors want to determine who is the commissioner. The secretary to the federal government of the country want to determine who his state governor will be. So you have the same set of people. And you cannot get any change that way. So let's restructure our minds before we start talking about structure.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Curtis Adigba, all the way from the United States. Thank you for having, I had to call him and he said, look, I'm going to join you this evening. We'll be expecting you back in the country, safe and sound. Thank you so much. Nuruddin, your final
when
thing.
The president allows me, I'll come back.
you have no issues. I'm sure the EFCC is not looking for you or the DSS. So we're expecting you. Don't worry. All right, Nuruddin.
Well, for me, I think it's the best time that we have to create the country we have, that we want to have. So
the kind of country we desire.
We desire, so that irrespective of any words we want to use, structuring, review, redo, edit, or whatever we want to use, whatever we want to put to make development across all the sectors and across all geopolitical zones in this country, then we can just move on from there and be building on it.
Okay, we have to do what we need to do to build a country of our desire. That's what Nuruddin is saying. Joseph Olorunso, your final thing.
To me, Fuad, I think the president should send a thank you letter to Mainland FM because when on his speech,
on his inaugural speech,
do not pitch me.
I asked for the job, yeah,
and that is the reason we have to keep him on his toes. That forget about 2027, do your job. It's just like the spirit, the blessing of the former governor of Lagos State, Babajide Raji Fashola, after first term in office, and they were saying maybe whether we go for the second term, but look at the temperature, the environment in Lagos,
the mood of the state
that want to change this person. I think the person is joking. So we want to appeal to the president. Forget about 2027.
Concentrate on the now.
We have an emergency now in education, in health, in agric, in the security and the rest of them. If he's able to deliver, Nigeria will suddenly be behind him. If he say, okay, I want to
run again in 2027.
But if it's on the contrary, they go, okay, can you give us
your scorecard?
A person who we continue with maybe the potential good work.
All right. Okay. Well, I think what I can get from that is that look, you should leave politics aside and face governance, so that you can deliver the dividends of democracy to Nigerians. Well, that's the size of the package on the political roundtable this evening. But before we go, we need to express our heartfelt condolences to our teacher. Yeah. We say he's our teacher because from the days of the Polytechnic to the university, he has always been in the classroom teaching us mass communication and communication studies. We lost a teacher yesterday, Professor Layo Shaw, to a lone motor accident, somewhere I think in Ogun State. We really want to express our heartfelt condolences to his family, and we pray that God gives them the strength to bear this particular loss. So the communication sector in Nigeria is mourning a great man. Professor Emeritus Layo Shaw from the Lagos State University. Well, that's why we call it a day on the show Mainland Political Roundtable on Mainland 98.3 FM. To everybody that called in, we thank you so much for being a part of the show, and we wish you a blessed working week ahead.